Tonight's topic is Jewish approach to extraterrestrial life. Is there intelligent life out there? Is there anyone else besides us in the universe, in the cosmos? You know, today I had a day where I was wondering if there's any intelligent life in this world. The astronaut Gordon Cooper is quoted, it went down on record, as saying that UFOs exist, that the truly unexplained ones are from some sort of advanced civilization who has come to reach us, come to talk to us, whatever. Jimmy Carter, former President Jimmy Carter, he's on record. He said that he can't laugh at those who have had the vision or have seen a UFO because he as well has seen a UFO. Now, many of us would say Jimmy Carter probably came from a UFO, but that's a different story. Speculations about extraterrestrial life nowadays are not a new thing. They've been around since antiquity. The current discussion, however, is not in idle terms or deemed science fiction, but it's looked upon. The quest for extraterrestrial life is looked upon and sought out in highly sophisticated language and published in very respectable scientific journals. Many secularists believe that if we discover life on other planets, it's going to be doomsday for world religion as we know it. Religion, ethics, whatever. Would that be the case in Judaism? What's the Jewish approach? So first of all, let's take a step back. Judaism does not believe, this is a thing that we know, Judaism does not believe that everyone has to be like us. We believe that everything and everyone has its place and their place in the world. Not everyone has to be a Jew in order to be doing what they need to be doing in this world. However, Judaism does believe in a thing called absolute truth. Torah is seen as absolute truth. The entire universe, as we learned last week when we discussed free will, the entire universe was created for human beings. Everything else, this entire picture, this grand scheme, all the cosmos, all the galaxies, are merely a backdrop for us. The Talmud, the Gemara in Brachas, goes through the stars and says that these stars, and each star has its camp, and each camp has its group, and each group has it, going back and back and back, saying that all the stars and all the cosmos, everything is all for us. It is all created for our sake. Gemara in Chagiga says not only was all the physical worlds, all the galaxies, all the nebula, everything made for our sake, but even the spiritual worlds, all the angels, all the dimensions, all the realms of existence was all for us in this, to accomplish this end goal of having human beings with free will that can make choices, that can uplift a lowly existence like a physical world. The Rambam, Maimonides, in describing the world, describes it as the center of the universe. Now the Mefarshim, the Torah commentaries, say that this is not necessarily talking about the geographic center of the universe, but talking that we are the center, meaning that we are the pinnacle of the whole creation. We are the center of what it's all about. So many people wonder, you look up at the stars, you see pictures from the Hubble telescope of such a vast universe. And we think to ourselves, how can mankind on a tiny off-center planet, a planet of a medium-sized star and one of many billions of galaxies, be the center, the focal point of the entire universe? And to take it a step further, how can anything that we do even matter? God, who created the entire universe, He really cares if I'm going to eat a cheeseburger? He really cares if I'm going to wear wool and linen together? He cares if I don't turn on my car on Shabbos, or if I do turn on my car on Shabbos. He's manipulating the cosmos. What's he got to do with us? So there's a very simple approach to that. Oftentimes when we think about God, we think about God as being infinitely big. We say God is infinite, but what happens in our minds is we think, oh, infinite means big. Because infinite just means really, really lots and lots. Or big, 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 the biggest of the big. Infinite doesn't mean infinitely big. It also means infinitely small. That God cares about every single detail. He's involved in every single moment. He oversees and is a part of every moment of our lives. So the fact that we're a tiny planet or tiny humans in a vast universe doesn't affect anything when it comes to God. The reason that the universe is so big to begin with is in order to have human beings have the awe and the inspiration of God. Wow, look at this creation. That we look up and we say, something created this. There's a principle in science, and we've discussed it several times in the past when we did faith. It's called the Entropic Principle. The Entropic Principle says that everything in the universe, including the universe's size and the rate at which it's expanding, everything is perfect. All the laws of nature, everything that needs to be in existence is at the perfect ratio, the perfect measure that life on Earth should be able to exist. We've said many times that if Earth were slightly closer to the sun, it would be unable to have life. If it were slightly further away from the sun, it would be unable to have life. If it didn't have the moon constantly circling around it, we'd be pulled out of the life zone by the big planet of Jupiter. If Jupiter didn't exist, or if it was a little smaller, we'd be blasted by asteroids. If Jupiter was a little bit bigger, we'd be pulled out of the sun's gravitational, the life zone, the Goldilocks zone, and wouldn't be able to have life. And we took it a step further and we said even if our entire solar system was the exact way that it was, but was located in a different area of the galaxy, that the forces that were over there would probably enable it not to contain life just because it's in a different location in the galaxy. And even if it's in the same location in the galaxy that it is, but if our location amongst the other galaxies in our area was a different measure, we may not be able to exist. And if the galaxies in our cluster were the exact same that they are, but they were a different distance or a different force pull between the other galaxies and the other clusters and the other superclusters, life also may not be able to happen here on Earth. So everything in the universe has to line up perfectly in order that us little old people on planet Earth are able to breathe fresh air and drive to a Torah class. Gravity is just the right strength. The strong force, just right. Ratio of matter and energy, perfect. Everything is exactly the way it needs to be in order for life here on good old planet Earth to function. So within this vast universe, this ever-expanding vast universe, is it possible, according to the Torah, that there could be life elsewhere? One of the first Jewish sages to discuss this outright was Rabbi Chasdai Crescas, one of the Rishonim in the 11th century. He says as follows: there's nothing to preclude the existence of extraterrestrial life in Judaism. Nothing to say that it doesn't exist. No reason to think not. There's nothing to say, for sure there is, but there's no reason to think not. On the other hand, Rabbi Joseph Albo, Rabbi Crescas' student, author of Sefer HaIkrim, says extraterrestrial life is a no-no in Judaism. Can't happen. So the whole world, the whole universe was created for us, was created for mankind. It was created for a creature that has free will. So these creatures could not have free will. That's only something that human beings can have. So the fact also that they're not even interacting with or benefiting a free-willed creature means that they cannot exist. Animals don't have free will, but we use them, we utilize them, we interact with them. They serve a purpose in the world. They serve a purpose as the backdrop to life. Angels also don't have free will. But they serve a purpose, they're interacting with us, they serve some sort of need to a free-willed being. Everything in existence has to be somehow related back to the free-willed being, the human being. So these opinions, the yay and the nay, are brought down in a book called Sefer HaBris. And the Sefer HaBris says, he brings that extraterrestrial life could exist. But it's possible. They just don't have free will. But it's possible that they do exist. There are other creatures out there, they just don't have free will. And he brings a proof. He brings a little passage from the Talmud, the Gemara in Avodah Zarah, that says that God travels through 18,000 worlds. There's a Gemara that says God travels through the 18,000 worlds. He interprets that as literal worlds, that these are literal worlds that exist. Now, many people say that these 18,000 worlds are figurative, they're not literal worlds, but there is room to believe that they are literal. The Magen Avraham, in the Shulchan Aruch, the Code of Jewish Law, says something very interesting. He answers the question, why the week before Rosh Hashanah we say the slichot, the penitent prayers. The week before Rosh Hashanah, why we do it in the early hours of the morning? Why that time? Why not late at night? Why not the middle of the day? Why early in the morning? And he says, because throughout the night, God is dealing with the other 18,000 worlds, and by the early morning, he comes to us. He's dealing with us. This is an auspicious time to... So, there's definitely room. Rabbi Yehuda ben Barzilai of Barcelona, an 11th century sage, on his commentary to Sefer Yetzirah, speculates about the existence of life on these 18,000 worlds. There's additionally a source brought from the Talmud. There's a verse in the book of Judges. There's a whole section in the book of Judges called the Song of Devorah. Devorah was a prophetess, and she sang a song in praise of God for helping win a battle against the enemy Sisera. And one of the passages in her song say as follows: "Cursed is Meros, and cursed are its inhabitants." They contain those words. Cursed is Meros, and cursed are its inhabitants. The Talmud, the Gemara in Moed Katan brings an opinion that Meros is the name of a star, implying that the inhabitants, that the star has inhabitants. Now, even though the Zohar and Rabbeinu Hananel both say that the inhabitants refer to the planets that surround that star, that's what the inhabitants are talking about. Nevertheless, in any event, the groundwork is laid for accepting the idea of life on other planets. So we have to ask the next question. Okay, fine. In theory, there could be life on other planets. Now, is it intelligent life? When NASA makes all its research, they're not so much looking for ET as they're even looking for bacteria. They're looking for the signs of life. So you may have life in the universe, but are the inhabitants, are these creatures intelligent creatures? Is it intelligent life? So first of all, intelligence in the Torah is different than sometimes the way we think of intelligence. Intelligence in the Torah is not based on the amount of information. A computer contains a tremendous amount of information. However, a computer is not intelligent. Okay? Even angels, which are said to contain greater knowledge than we have, greater knowledge than we're privy to, lack a certain thing in the category of intelligence. Intelligence in the Torah's context means the capacity the capacity to make free will decisions. That's intelligence. The fact that you can determine between right and wrong, good and evil. Free will can only exist with a Torah. How can you know what's good and what's not good? How can you know what to embrace and what to abstain from if there's no Torah? Torah is absolute truth. So you can't have an intelligent being, one that's able to choose from right or wrong, a free-willed being without a Torah. So if there is life in the universe, there is intelligent life in the universe, they would have to have a Torah. Now, could they have a different Torah? We have our Torah, they have their Torah? It's not possible. Torah is absolute truth. There can't be two truths. There's one truth. Torah is not a history book. In Judaism, we don't look at Torah as the Jewish people's history and chronology of what happened to us. It's described as the blueprint of creation. That God actually looked at this Torah. This is the will of God, the wisdom of God. And God created the universe from this blueprint. The Torah is merely the blueprint of creation. It's absolute truth, the wisdom and will of God. In the Gemara, the Talmud, Gemara Pesachim, says that Rabbi Eliezer says, were it not for the Torah, the heavens and earth would not be created. All the galaxies, everything in them were put there so man could accept the Torah here. The Divrei Chaim explains in Medrash, says that all the worlds and all were created uninhabited. Okay, so they don't have a different Torah. Could they have the same Torah? Maybe they have the same Torah as us. It's absolute truth. Maybe we have the Torah and they also have the Torah. Also not so possible. Why? Do they celebrate Passover and Sukkot? Were they slaves in Egypt? Imagine trying to calculate when the new moon is when you're living on Jupiter and there's 12 moons. Despite the idea, even in secular thought these days, despite the idea when we look at the universe and we think how vast it is, that we must not be alone, scientists these days are getting along the track saying, you know what, we actually may be alone. Recently, Peter Ward, professor of biology and earth space science at the University of Washington, and Donald Brownlee, an astronomer, published a book called Rare Earth. And in this book they describe, and they go through in great detail, that the universe is fundamentally hostile to the upkeep of life, any kind of life. That it's really unlikely that life would exist anywhere else. Even though it's such a big universe, it's such a vast cosmos, it's very unlikely, according to them, that there is anything else. So should we look? Are we wasting our time? Dr. Velvel Greene is a biologist who was asked by NASA to be on a project where they were looking for life on Mars. So he was a chassid, and he asked the Lubavitcher Rebbe, is this something that is worth endeavoring to? Should we be looking for life on Mars? So the Rebbe answered him, said, look for life on Mars. And if you don't find it there, look somewhere else. Because for you to sit here, for any of us to sit here and say that there's no life elsewhere, is to put limits on the Creator, is to put limits on what He can do. So go look. Practically speaking, what does this mean for us? What does this have to do with anything in our life? We have to realize the greatness of everything that we have and the greatness of everything that we do. That the entire cosmos, the vast universe, you look at those pictures from the Hubble telescope, the whole thing, everything was created for us. And everything that we do, every action, every word, and every thought that we have has a cosmic ripple effect for the positive or for the negative. When we do everything that we need to do, we cause the cosmic ripple effect to affect the entire universe. All the cosmos are influenced by our little action down here. And that's because God is not only infinitely big, also infinitely small. He's intricately connected to everything that we do. So let's, as free-willed beings, the only free-willed beings, start making the right choices.